And I guess we are live. Hello, everyone. I hope you are all doing great. It's really a pleasure to have you here for our gold sponsor presentations. I am Flavien. I am a member of the BGA team, so it's a pleasure to have you today. We'll have the honor to have Cartesi to talk about what they do with very interesting topics to share with you. But just before that, and just before introducing our wonderful speakers, I just would like to introduce to you the BGA and to talk about who we are. So the BGA, the Blockchain Game Alliance, is an organization committed to promoting blockchain within the game industry. And our goal is to spread awareness about blockchain technology. We want to encourage adoptions by highlighting the potential to foster new ways to create, to publish, to play, and build strong communities around games. Of course, we are also strong advocate for diversity and more inclusivity of women in the industry. So we also provide an open forum for individuals and companies to share knowledge and to be able to collaborate with each other. So the core activities of the Alliance is obviously the networking part. We want to make sure that every member are able to communicate to each other. Research and reporting also represent blockchain game companies, advocate for blockchain in the game industry as well. And today we would like to thank all of our sponsors, and Cartesi is one of them. So thank you very much for that. We have companies within games and hardware, blockchain, NFT platform, chains and protocols, and others. And thank you very much for make it possible for us to promote blockchains within the gaming industry in different ways. And it's becoming a lot crowded here, so we are lacking some spaces, but we are very happy to have more than 400 members of the BGA today. So thank you very much to be a part of it. So the BGA hosts events for free speaking opportunities like this one. We have workshop. We have new members, follow new members to be able to showcase their activity. We have demo day with the purpose to showcase the game of our members. And these are live events, but and digital events, but we do also physical events. And we actually had the pleasure to be at the PGC in London at the beginning of this week. Is what wonderful to meet all of our available BGA members there. So thank you very much. But today, I am very pleased to welcome Bruno Maya, Head of Business Development, and Milton Jonathan, Head of Product, to talk about Cartesi. So guys, and just before that, for sure, for the audience, you can ask any question you could have. Feel free to do so. I will make sure to address that question to the speakers. But without any further ado, I let you, Bruno, to share your screen.
Thanks, Flavian. Thanks a lot for having us today in the name of Cartesi. We are really pleased and happy to be here presenting our company and to this great audience. It's a pleasure to be part of the BGA family, and I'm really happy to be here today. So I'll share my screen now. Just a second. Share screen. Share screen. Share screen. Entire screen. Yeah. So let me know when you guys can see
Perfect.
it.
Maybe, yes, if you go back to your presentations,
Yeah,
we can see it.
let's go. So it's loading. Let's see. Yes. So 1 second. So we are here today to talk a little bit about Cartesi and why Cartesi is relevant and as a blockchain OS to the game industry. So Cartesi is a blockchain OS. We are bringing a blockchain, a real, truly blockchain, into OS, into blockchain, and that's a game changer. It's the first time that is happening in the industry that a company is bringing an entire decentralized operating system inside the blockchain, and that would allow mainstream developers and software developers from mainstream to bridge into to the blockchain revolution, and we are onboarding these, we're aiming to onboard these people, and of course mainstream developers as well into the blockchain. So um, of course the blockchain and gaming, it's something that hasn't started today. It's already a revolution that is in place, a huge change on the industry caused by blockchain technology. Happens with the great pioneers in that front, Sandbox and Axie, and the implementation of blockchain, the combination of blockchain with gaming gave the developers a new possibility to add these decentralized economy systems on top of the gaming games. And of course, that is a big push on an NFT area. And for the gamers, this is an extraordinary way to completely change the approach on use games and how people look at games and how to engage with games. Now, the play to earn came to stay, and it has been impacting countries in terms of economy and onboarding, unbanking people to, I would say, an active participation in economy in a very interesting way and a breakthrough way that was not possible before. And it's just the beginning. And where we are heading to, we are heading to a wider decentralization where games can be truly updated and its economy truly dynamically change through community contributions. You have a true ownership of your assets if the infrastructure is completely, I would say, decentralized, and as well further composability into games. And we are moving on that. They like to say decentralization is not important until it becomes important. And of course, only deep centralization would allow us to fully explore the potential of the blockchain and game industry. Well, the components are here, but the centralized gaming options, they lead to limited gaming experience, although it's already a huge breakthrough in what has been done so far. To go to a next level, to go to the next generation of games, for sure, the decentralized game option logic plays a limitation factor, a limiting factor. No? And it's not easy to develop a blockchain game. So the blockchain is limited, the capacity is limited, privacy features are complicated, lack of friendly mainstream software and tooling, and especially developers that don't have an operating system to fully explore richness of these operating systems, file systems, and libraries, and etc., to develop its own decentralized game. And what is the impact of that? Well, how can players can have full ownership of their collectibles if the logic that was creating those collectibles and managing the interaction of these collectibles with the game is centralized? How can we have rich and dynamic economies is if all these economies hard-coded in a centralized and single entity? Of course, that leads to a less vibrant and dynamic gameplay. And how the blockchain OS plays a key role on that next generation of games. We are bridging the mainstream software tooling with the blockchain. We are bringing with the operating system that we're bringing in the blockchain. Of course, we are giving a lot of flexibility on types of software, that's program language that can be used, libraries that can be leveraged, and we're gonna show that today. And of course, with the scaling factor that our technology brings as a layer 2 solution, allows a much higher level of capacity on the programs, a computation to be executed with the same security guarantees of the blockchain beneath us. That makes the implementation of a real decentralized game a reality. Well, and how far we are from that? Actually, not really. The blockchain OS is here. It's now. Our alpha version was launched by the end of the last year. Thanks for the great effort for our technical and product team. It's a work in progress. We are working hardly on improving usability, and it's deployed on Polygon testnet at this moment. And also, we launched it based on, of course, on our previous version of our infrastructure, a demo, which is a completely fully decentralized heads-up poker game using our Cartesi technology, using C++ code. And why poker? Why did we choose poker for that? And of course, a real use case demand for decentralized game. And the industry has been facing several problems across the years with issues with scandals, with multi-million dollars scandals. And once again, decentralization is not important until it is important. And the poker industry and the gaming industry is an example of that. And decentralize that is not an easy task, because getting a very complicated mental poker cryptographic library based in ZK, uh, it's not an easy implementation. It's very, very heavy. And of course, we leverage that using C++, get an existing library which fast track the implementation of our our our, our demo. And it's very difficult for any blockchain technology implement directly in layer one this kind of application with this level of demand or computational demand. And Cartesi is able to do it. That's a very important point. And of course, the future is now. Poker game on. And I will lead now the presentation to Milton to start with the demo that we prepare for you guys. Let me know.
Thanks, Bruno. I'm
You're
gonna
welcome.
share my own screen here, which is basically already the game running. So here you go. This is the home screen of the game. As Bruno was saying, so this is a showcase. Really, it's not what we consider like a consumer-ready product, but it's playable. We put some effort to make it to have a nice user interface, a nice flow. As Bruno was saying, the decentralization of poker is actually something that the scientific community, the academic community has been around. So people involved in cryptography were trying to figure out, as Bruno said, privacy when you have a situation where you have to hide your cards, but you have to agree on the result in the end, right? So how do you do that? So there are some zero knowledge algorithms that are known as mental poker to do that, and that works. But the thing is, if you use a blockchain, and if people are spread out in a decentralized way, and if the mental poker algorithm allows you to play poker, but if there is a misbehavior, if somebody's trying to cheat, you need a judge, right? You need some sort of authority to enforce the correct result. I mean, if you're playing heads up and the other player just gives up, you need something like a blockchain to be able to give your money, right? The money that was on the table. So this is where Cartesi comes in, actually. We are able to replay the entire game, even with the complex mental poker algorithms, which involve using specialized software, which is not easy to develop in itself, but we are able to use existing libraries. And it's able to run those algorithms, which take a while, even on a desktop computer, but it takes a while within our technology as well. But it's able to run it and enforce a correct result. So everybody can be entitled to a fair game and without the central authority, which is the promise, right, of decentralized applications. So this is the user interface that we have to show. So basically, you can choose an avatar here for yourself. You can place your name here. You have a wallet. So in this implementation, we have these poker tokens that you need to have to play. This is what we are betting. So it's like these chips, right, that we are betting. As Bruno said, we are deployed on Polygon Mumbai sidechain, so you need Matic to play as well. So I'm going to start playing now. This is basically, there's this play button here. I'm going to enter the game lobby, which is basically, I'm going to submit to the blockchain a transaction saying that I want to play, and I'm waiting for somebody to join me. So hopefully Bruno is going to join me, and we're going to play live here for you guys to see. There he is. That's a nice face that you have, Bruno. So now there comes the initialization of the game. And this actually takes a little bit to run, you see. So what's happening here is that we're exchanging this cryptographic information, which is what the mental poker is all about. So there are zero knowledge proofs being generated basically to encrypt and shuffle the deck. So Bruno is going to do that. He's sending it over to me, and I'm going to do that. So in the end, we have a shuffled and encrypted deck, doubly shuffled and encrypted decks, a little bit technical, but the end, we have a deck that nobody knows which card is which until we both reveal our secret information, so to speak, which are our internal proofs. So this takes a little bit to run, basically because we're exchanging this through the blockchain. This is a showcase application. We can improve on that if we use state channels and other features so that the communication is direct. But as I said, even the computation of these proofs, it takes a couple of seconds to run, even on a desktop computer. So this is where why we have this little delay here, but this is part of the thing. We can improve on that in a real consumer and make it just a couple of seconds to have this initialization. But here, all this work is to be sure that if something goes wrong, if somebody wants to misbehave or give up on the game before it's over, the information is there that we can prove to the blockchain who behaved well and who didn't, and you can get your money back. And there's no way of cheating, right? So this is what this is all about. In just a little second, yeah, it's over. Here, the initialization phase, and we have our cards. So I am at a disadvantage here. Bruno knows my cards because he's seen the screen, as you guys are. I have a king, so I'm not so bad, but I have no idea what Bruno is having. So he can bluff. For me, it's kind of hard. And let's see what he's going to do. It's his turn. He's betting. Okay,
I'm playing easy here.
Playing easy. Okay, let's see what happens. I'm just checking along. Let's see what happens in the flop. So this is Texas Hold'em, right? If you're familiar with, it's a kind of poker where you have two cards in your hand, the other player as well, and we're gonna open cards progressively on the table. And the idea is that there will be 5 cards in the end, and you combine your 2 cards with 3 cards on the table to make your best hand, right? So if I have a king here, oh, there's another king there. So that means I have a pair, and that it's written here. I have a pair of kings, which is already nice, right? And I don't think Bruno has much more than that. So I'm going to raise here, put some more poker tokens on the table. And here, so I'm raising. This is the amount of tokens that I have bet. This is the pot. So if I win, I win back 160, which is my 150 and his 10 tokens. And I think Bruno is in a weird situation already. But if he has like a pair of aces or something like that here in his pocket.
I think you did a wrong move here, but I'm trying to be merciful.
All right. Well, he just called. He didn't raise, so I'm still confident. I'm going to raise more because I think I'm going to win. This 6 here doesn't bring much news to the table unless he already has a pair of 6 there. I'm going to raise this again. So every time I'm doing this, I'm submitting a transaction to the blockchain. This is all played on the blockchain. There's no central server. This is fully decentralized, right? And when it's over, we get our money back, which is basically these poker tokens, right? So right now, these poker tokens are locked into the contract, and until the game ends, we don't get those back. But it's guaranteed to end, even if by timeout we have these mechanisms there. So let's see what Bruno is. Bruno is just calling. Come on, Bruno. Oh, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's a possibility of a sequence as well. But it's not a big possibility. I mean, if he has a 4 and a 5, he'll be better than me, or a 5 and a 10. I'm still very confident.
Now the fun begins.
I'm putting more tokens on the table. I think I'm going to win big.
He feels very confident, though. But okay.
Yeah, now is the time when he raises a lot, right? And it scares me out. Let's see what he does. I shouldn't have said that, actually. So yeah,
So
let's see what he does.
as you said, every action you do on the game is written on the blockchain.
Yeah, right. This is how we're doing it. So this is like the worst case scenario. Like, and we are guaranteeing this way that if somebody goes away, we have all the moves recorded, right? And we can replay those, and we know what the correct result is. But we could do it another way, right? We could do state channels, which are direct communication. And only if the other player goes away, I gather all the messages that we exchanges, and they will be signed. And I can send those to the blockchain. We can verify that signature inside the Cartesi machine. It's our technology. We can have the signatures of the players there, and we can verify the signatures. So that would be a more efficient way of doing it. But state channels can break down, like people can just not show up there. So it's you should be able to play it on the blockchain as a fallback anyway. So we implemented the worst case scenario to be sure that this is solid. And so now we can really say that this is fully decentralized, because even if whatever misbehavior or whatever scheme that somebody wants to do, the other player is always able to bring this over to the blockchain, and the blockchain can act as this Supreme Court. With all the information, he can replay everything. He can see who did wrong, who did right, and and compute the result in the end and award the winner the prize. So I'm gonna call and see what Bruno has.
Smart move.
Sending it over. I don't think he has anything. I think he's screwed. But then he comes with 2 queens or whatever. Let's see. So here is, let's see, it's going to reveal his cards to me. I'm waiting for him to decide to do that. So this delay here is basically the blockchain. Almost you got a sequence, but no, you don't. You have a pair of 9s. Sorry about that, Bruno. You lost.
I was ready to press on a turtle. That fortunately didn't happen.
Yeah, we were really close, actually.
Yeah. I was playing nice. I was attracting you,
If you had a 8 instead of a 9 here, you would have made it.
Yeah. And this is a typical, I would say, application that would be extremely difficult to implement entirely in the blockchain due to the heaviness of the computation that is required to execute those shufflings and all the transactions. No? And with our technology, you can scale that using a completely different program language that it's very common to millions of developers. Now, in this case, C++ with an Avail library that is widely available. You could reuse that. So
yeah, if I can comment on that, Bruno, it's not about the language only. Mm-hmm. We have other solutions that are able to use the C syntax or Rust syntax or other mainstream languages syntax. But the thing here, we are not just writing in C++. We are using code that was developed by other people. Like we have decades, millions of libraries, everything that runs on Linux. You have cryptographic libraries, you have databases, you have whatever things have been developed, and you can actually just use that as you would normally do in any mainstream software development process, right? So this is the game changer. The game changer is that these cryptographic libraries, we didn't implement them. They actually, even if it was possible to do that in Solidity or some other thing, even if you had C++ and you were to implement it yourself again, it would be a huge amount of work, and I can guarantee that there will be bugs in it. So being able to use battle-tested libraries that are around there for decades and have been peer-reviewed and have been used by the industry for a long time, this is actually a bonus, even in terms of security, right?
Yeah, Milton, I have a question, because I think some of the audience just came in the chat maybe 3 or 4 minutes ago, and I know that they noticed the delay. I just wanted you maybe to recap on how you will manage to make it less delay on that. I know your arguments was about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, this was a showcase to show that it's possible. As Bruno was saying, many things that we do in blockchain are much more complicated and convoluted than you would need to do if everybody would behave nicely in this ideal world. But the whole idea is to have this trustless environment where you are safe, right? You're sure that things are going to be fair, no matter what people try to do. So to prove that this could be done, we did it in, which is not really the most efficient way. So we are putting this data in the blockchain, even when it's not really needed. So we're putting all the information that we exchanged here, the proofs and the movements and the bets, we're putting it all in the blockchain, because if somebody goes away, or if somebody like Bruno could have said, no, actually I won. Who's to say that he won and I didn't? Because we're playing without a central server, right? And if we are disputing, if he says he won and I said no, I won, then we run the entire game on the blockchain. He needs to now have the information. So to improve on that and to have less of a burden when we do the regular gameplay, when everybody's being honest, which is, if you're guaranteed to be caught, right, when you're cheating, we're expecting like almost nobody to cheat. So this is the paradox of blockchain applications, right? We do a lot of stuff to everybody be safe, that they have a fair game. And if everybody behaves nicely, then you wouldn't actually need all that stuff. But you need to have some overhead to be prepared, and it's like, I don't know, like people in other areas say that you have to have weapons to force peace or something like that. But you have to have these tools on your hand. So, but we can, as I said, this is not a consumer-ready product. It's just to prove the case, and it's good enough to play.
Sure.
Even if since this is like people usually when they're playing poker, they actually don't play as fast as we just did. Like they think more, they look at the other guy's face, and they do some psychology. So it's not a really super fast paced. So it's not so bad to play it this way. But then again, we could add another layer of complexity on top of it, which is we could, instead of sending everything to the blockchain every time, we could sign this message with my private key. I can send it directly to Bruno, so there's no blockchain. I don't need to submit the transactions. The slowness that you get here is because even though Polygon is great in terms of speed and also low fees, you still takes like 5 seconds for my submission to be heard on his application, right? So I'm submitting a transaction and he's listening to the event that the blockchain sent. This is never going to be much faster than what we get here, right? Mm. But of course, you don't really need that. If we have another layer on top of this game, which is, okay, I send it directly to Bruno, but I'm signing the message so that Bruno then answers me and he signs the message. And then if Bruno goes away, I have to show, look, I had this game going on and he had bet all these 590 tokens and then he gave up. But if we hadn't submitted that to the blockchain first, then how's the blockchain to know? So what happens is that I can gather all this signed message that Bruno said and send it to the blockchain then. So this would be very much faster, right? And actually cheaper and better. But since this was just to prove the case and have a playable game, we stopped there at this moment, just to prove that the thing is doable. And even without this extra effort, it's already playable and enjoyable as it is. That was the goal. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, Bruno, I don't know if you wanted to add something on top of that.
Adding to Milton's, it's indeed a tangible showcase to demonstrate the community everything that we were talking in the presentation about why the blockchain OS it's so relevant to the next generation of blockchain games and what it can do, what such powerful tool. As Milton said, it's leveraging millions of hours of development on the mainstream softwares, freedom of choice of programs, leveraging existing libraries, onboarding tons of mainstream developers without the needed knowledge to a very specifically programmed language that is only known by a fraction of the developers in the world. You have maybe more than 20 million mainstream developers and just a small fraction of those know Solidity, for example. So it's that easy access to a workforce that could work in your project and implement your game with existing infrastructure. The onboard of those developers in our home in the blockchain, it's easier, it's less friction. They know the environment, it's a Linux environment. They can use a language that is more affordable for them. As Milton said, it's not only C++. It's freedom of choice of programs. It's reuse of battle pass libraries and codes that have been trials and retrials and explored for ages. And the poker game is a nice showcase of that, because it shows very complicated features that were implemented on top of a blockchain, running completely decentralized, that if there is any dispute here, this dispute is solved by what we call dispute game resolution, run by our own technology, dynamic interaction with the blockchain until you identify exactly the point where is the disagreement and enforce the right result. And of course, it's up to the game developer to enforce as well penalty in case of somebody's misbehaving. And we are really happy to share this with the community, and really happy to onboard developers and entrepreneurs and people that wants to develop games to our Cartesi labs, to our community, to start playing and using our technology on the games. And we are more than happy to have them with us.
Great. Yeah, I think it's a beautiful use case. Thank you very much, Milton, for introducing that to the audience. For what kind of games do you think will be very important for the developers to count on Cartesi to be able to develop that in a useful way?
Yeah. So the interesting thing here for us, and this is why we are very excited to see what people will bring with ideas, right? Because much of what is possible now with our technology is things that weren't really possible before. So people had really thought through what are the possibilities right now, right? So things like as Bruno said, we have been used to games just storing like a stream of bytes for your NFT, and that's it. And now we can actually store the logic around that. So you could, for example, have the simulation environment for NFTs to interact in. So, for instance, if you have an NFT which is like a bot or something, or a Pokemon style thing, you could have like an environment where they have a battle of sorts, and the result of that thing will actually affect the evolution of that NFT, for instance. So you could have this logic encoded in a verifiable way in the blockchain, and you could actually have games that not only the assets of the games, but actually logic of the game itself stored there. And then there are very many ideas that can come from that. So your bot could evolve over time if he wins many battles, and the battles are always simulated on the blockchain. So everybody is transparent. It doesn't depend on that game company running that thing. And because as it is, if you just store like a stream of bytes, which is a very like full-featured bot with magic weapons, but the fact that bytes translates into that nice bot is centralized. So another game can just say, or he can just change the rules, and now that bot is worthless, right? The same bytes. So that depends on some standard that often is still centralized, this logic around the thing. And if you can then centralize that, then you can open up for lots of possibilities to arise.
Yeah, it's great. Bruno, I know that you mentioned that a little bit, but what is the best way for developers to be involved in the Cartesi community, to be on the radar of how to use it?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Flavian. So first of all, everybody is welcome to join our Discord. Is where we receive our home for developers. And they can exchange ideas and interact with our Cartesi team and with all the developers over there, and we incentivize that community-driven synergy. It's very important. They can, of course, get a lot of information in our website, in Cartesi.io, about our technology. Of course, we are working right now on deploy all the documentations that are related with our newest version of our technology, that is the Cartesi Rollups. Alpha version has been launched by the end of this last year. Milton is leading a huge effort on bringing all this convenience and documentations to our developers and to the community, where they can access that and can play with. But in a nutshell, join our Discord, our webpage, and we're more than happy to assist if anybody wants to start playing with our technology. We have Cartesi Labs that it has availability of grants, no strings attached, to people that wants to use our technology to code the games and applications.
Great.
On the webpage also you'll find directions to the labs, and I'm more than happy to receive the community in our home.
Okay. Before dropping on one or two questions from the audience, not falsely related to gaming, but anyway, you would like to add anything else to address in this video? You good? You have one we have a question from Kurt Packinger. How do you envision the Web3 IoT space at maturation? Is AR the preferred format? I don't want you to address to these questions.
It's
sure.
Very comfortable with this one as well.
Yeah, so we see a lot of synergy between IoT and Web3. So there are projects coming up which are specializing in IoT. The main thing with IoT to be merged into Web3 is getting authenticated data from there, and there are some projects. Bruno may mention some projects that are doing that, like IoTX, IOTA, and things like that. So the nice thing is that with IoT data, if you get that into the blockchain, the issue is always to be sure that the data is authentic. But if you get authenticized data into the blockchain, you need some processing power and some tools to do something with that, right? And this is where we also think that Cartesi is actually a good fit, because like if we have we've been playing around some ideas like you have a GPS sending information that's trusted information, and if it crosses a bridge of sorts, we could build it could be a toll bridge where it's all automated and decentralized. For instance, you could have insurance where if depending on where the guy is and the climate that's been there, you can pay off some insurance depending on that. So there are many possibilities when you get sensor data, which is brought from the outside world, and you combine that with decentralized logic that can provide really public services of all kinds for people. Augmented reality is a little bit more tricky when it comes to real-time stuff, right? So have to look a little bit more into the specifics use case to see if that's something that blockchain technology is really a good fit, because really that real-time thing, that you one instant second thing responses, many times you need to wait a little while for the consensus, right? So even to submit a transaction, we all know, like in blockchain, it's not that instantaneous. So yeah, that would be my take on those.
It's a very, very interesting question indeed, and about AR, as Milton said, it's the demand of real-time applications is complicated with blockchain nowadays. So if there's something going to this direction, it will be a mix of a centralized solution with maybe some elements of decentralization. For sure, not the UI and what general user calls front end, all this rendering, real-time 3D, Google, you don't need to decentralize that. But if there's some important assets inside this virtual world, inside this metaverse, you can be with your AR when entering the metaverse, And some elements of this metaverse is decentralized, some assets, or some logic that triggers some actions that could be also decentralized, but other parts will be a front end, have handling images will not be decentralized. And regarding to IoT for me comes pair and pair with big data, with machine learning, and that reminds me Python. And by the way, which blockchain or which technology can run Python decentralized? By the way, Cartesi, you can choose Python to run in your as a program language, which is friendly to develop some data crushing analysis, which is interesting for IoT applications as well. Milton mentioned about geo-reference. You can create fully verifiable geofence applications with us, matching some predefined map data, and you can cross-reference where you are, and the sky's the limit for what you can do. And fully verifiable, which in some regions we call this legally binding information. Because if you can verify, you can create a legally binding smart contracts regarding to some new products that are not yet available, because the blockchain technology cannot, before us, allow such sophistication in terms of applications to be written.
Great. Thank you,
If I
guys.
may get just a hook from what Bruno said, the thing that for augmented reality, you have some of the logic always centralized and for the real time stuff. We have another similar thing when he mentioned machine learning. That's a similar scenario. With Cartesi, you can have machine learning libraries running inside the blockchain, but of course, training a neural network, which is a lot of data and a lot of processing power, even for desktop computers, for powerhouses, it takes a while, right, to do deep learning or something like that. So you surely wouldn't do that on the blockchain. You don't need to prove to the world that your training was correct. But again, once you have a trained model, then it is a use case that you use one of these libraries, and we can use those libraries inside Cartesi machine because it's a regular library that you use in mainstream software. And you could have a trained model which runs fast, and you can just send data points like, I don't know, biometrics or whatever you need. And you can run these models on those, and you could verify that or classify those or do whatever logic, or even in your game simulation, right? You could use some machine learning in there, already trained model, and run inside. So this is also a use case that we envision for our technology.
And Milton, getting your hook, regarding to these models, of course, after they are trained, you can even create, for example, marketplace for trained models to sell that. And with Cartesi technology, you could implement the middleman to make sure that the consumer is getting an algorithm that is delivering a result that is promised by the description. And without getting this, so now this is difficult. How can, without getting that, I would say, train model, I can guarantee that they perform the way that they should. So we could use Cartesi technology to create a kind of a decentralized marketplace with some kind of privacy content sharing functionalities, where we act as a middleman, receive the order, get this algorithm with for image, run a test on this image, and making sure that it obtains, for example, some KPIs that is promised. If that KPIs fulfill what the seller is promised, the sale is concluded automatically. We had in one of our incubators, we have a, not exactly, but a similar situation where there is a game car. He wants to establish a marketplace to share configuration of the car. I want to sell you my car configuration. But how I give you the configuration file before getting the payment? You get the configuration file. Even if you see the configuration file, you just do a print screen and you get this information. You don't need to buy it anymore. So we have also this privacy layer to make sure that the buyer is buying what he wants. And only when the sale is complete, he can unlock that information to use it. And So such functionalities can be implemented in games like a fog of war in a turn-based game that you can hide some NFT collectibles or something interesting in this direction that can enrich a lot the gameplay and fully decentralized. Nowadays, you can do those things, but completely centralized. And everything that you own regarding to this game, it relies on a centralized logic that is vulnerable. It's susceptible for locking. You can take an example as a problem that happened a while ago with Amazon and the multiplayer role game they have. They have to shut it down. Was an issue with also Tezos. Luckily, Tezos has a decentralized marketplace that simply they shut down. Somebody shut down the web page, the front end, and luckily the algorithm, the back end was decentralized, so the community just re-implement the front end and could recover everything. But imagine if the back end was centralized, everything would be gone. And that's what I like to say: decentralization matters. Doesn't matter until it matters. And that's why I think we are on the verge to see a new generation of games and be very interesting.
Yeah, it's extremely interesting. I think, Kurt, you got quite an answer for your question around that. Thank you very much. I will take one more question. We have a lot of, but just that question: when the poker game you just introduced become available for public?
That's a good question. Our poker game, we got it as a technology showcase, and now we are discussing internally what will be the next steps on that. We will have clarity on that soon. But if anybody wants to test our game, please join our Discord, send a message to us, and we'll be happy to send some coupons to the community to continue playing and enjoy the demo. Just keep in mind that it's not a production ready software.
Yeah.
It's a technology showcase. The delays that Milton mentioned is because of the choice of the implementation, because we are doing everything through the blockchain. And of course there's delays here, delays there. Now 5 seconds here, 5 seconds there, including the processing power to make the shuffling, cryptographic, heavy computation. So it's just because the way it was built. If it was a production ready, there are ways to make it much faster, as Milton mentioned, with state channels. But since we were using this opportunity to show what Cartesi can do, what Cartesi can deliver in terms of technology, we end up here in this technology showcase. But feel free to reach us out in the Discord and ask for play the game. We'll be more than happy to assist.
Yeah, and we have other question. I like the most. Can Cartesi be used to implement the blockchain logic in existing 3D games like MMORPGs?
That I will leave to Milton to reply.
Again, the 3D aspect is probably completely off the blockchain, where you don't need to render 3D things in the decentralized logic. But the logic of the RPG itself, yeah, sure. If it's of course you won't have, preferably you won't want to have a very real time thing, but you surely can have this kind of thing running on our rollups. This is actually why we moved to rollups as well, to have the possibility of having these gigantic worlds where you have lots of people interacting, and you can have this complex logic. So as I said in the previous example of a simulation environment, so this would be a simulation world, right, where people interact and there's logic in there. Of course, it's not, you can't expect to have the same level of performance that you would have in a centralized server, right, which is using the cutting edge technology for desktops, for servers. But it's orders of magnitude more capable and more and faster than what you get in other blockchain solutions. So yeah, the short answer is yes, it certainly can, and we're looking forward to having some people developing that kind of thing.
And Paolo, if you or your friends have an idea of a game to implement, just reach us out. We'd love to hear your ideas and how can I help you.
Great, thank you, guys. I guess the last question, it refers to one of the comments we had, but will be what's planned for 2022. I know someone wanted to have maybe a view of the roadmap. What are your challenges for this year?
Good. You want to talk about the technical? We are reorganizing our roadmap in the way that we present it. Yesterday, I think we announced a new roadmap initiative. So we have plenty of challenges this year, not only on our roadmap, technical roadmap, but also we are very exciting in year ahead with a lot of events, a lot of adoption of technology, and we are pretty excited with this year in terms of what we can bring to the communities. But also lead to Milton to say a little bit more on the technical side about challenges and what we are foreseeing for this year.
Yeah, there are always like lots of interesting things to develop and improve. So we intend to move progressively closer to mainnet. Surely this is one of our main goals for the year. Within all the rollups infrastructure, it's gonna roll out little by little, right? As other projects do. We are planning everything to be decentralized, but we are releasing little by little. So some aspects of them start centralized, and then we decentralize them progressively, and we have this roadmap for that. This involves also some tokenomics, right? Where how the layer 2 network will involve the token itself to power that the validation, that consensus on layer 2. And also some important improvements in terms of the underlying technology for increasing performance and also security. So yeah, that we have some technical changes in the underlying architecture that will make us boost a lot the performance and make also the on-chain code simpler and more auditable. So and this is part of the road to mainnet, right? To get things that are as secure as possible in terms of this, our standards. We want to reach mainnet with all the possible guarantees that we can bring to people.
That makes sense. Okay, guys, thank you, Milton. Thank you, Bruno, for letting the opportunity to everyone to showcase the poker game based on these needs of decentralizations of the poker industry. It was very wishful to have the view and the test, the possibility to test that. So thank you very much for your participation, and hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Lavian. Thanks a lot, BGA, for this opportunity, for the great audience that I had today. Amazing questions, good interaction, and really happy to be here and showcase our tech in our home to the community. Appreciate your time, appreciate the time of all the community. Thank you very much, and wish everybody a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.